Hello everyone, Press7 here, back with some more Bloons TD Battles 2. Now this video I kind of want to showcase Spike Factory, seeing as, Spike Factory is an upgrade that I feel like or a tower that's really kind of underrated. I don't really see many people running Spike Factory simply just because Darling kind of overshadows everything, so not really many people are willing to kind of experiment with other towers with, just kind of Darling being as broken as it is. Well, it's not really as broken as it was before, but I do think it still needs a slight Pierce nerf, and I think that's kind of it. Also, kind of a showcase of Merchantmen, as Merchantmen did receive a buff back in the newest update, with the Merchantmen cost being reduced from 1800 to 1600. Doesn't make it any better. Well, I personally do believe so. I'm actually able to get up 2 Merchantmen before round 8, and I really only stopped getting Merchantmen just because I need money for like just defense, so I usually kind of stop around there. Running Ocean Open with this strategy simply just because I didn't have Ben unlocked when I started recording this footage. Also, there's no in-game audio simply just because I wasn't really expecting to record, so yeah, that's just kind of a thing. Now, Triggered over here is running Glue, Ace, and Churchill, which is an interesting combo that you don't really see too often. It's been a while since I've seen regular Churchill, and I think this is one of my first times actually seeing Glue. I think the last time I saw Glue was back in, I think, my Century Champion video. Someone was using Glue and Mortar, I believe. Or it may not have been that video, but I do remember seeing Glue like back way in the early days. So it's nice seeing someone using like Glue for once and actually using something different that isn't, it's kind of meta here. Triggered, believe it or not, is a top 25% Hollow Master player, I believe, from his badge. You didn't really see it at the beginning because I didn't really record that far, but he is one. I figured he was kind of memeing or just trying out something new strategies with him using Glue and Ace. It definitely is a very interesting combination of towers you don't really see too often. Ace you almost never see, because really the only reason I really see people use Ace is for never miss. Most of the upgrades for Ace aren't too amazing. Honestly, the best upgrades for Ace is like Ground Zero and the Ground Zero, Sarbamba, and of course, never miss. All the other ones are kind of bad. Spectre, I heard, isn't too great. Sky Shredder struggles heavily late game when it comes to, I guess, just kind of bad defense, which I guess makes sense because Sky Shredder was never really meant for bad damage. But seeing it's a 40k tower, I do think it should be able to at least be able to be semi-decent against bads. So Cannon Ship early game is actually pretty nutty, especially when you alk buff it. It kind of takes some notes from when Battles 2 did first come out and YouTubers had early access. I do remember that Aliens Rock was alk buffing Cannon Ship early game, and alk buff Cannon Ship is pretty good. Now, Boat Alchemist Spike Factory is not a strategy that I came up with. It was a strategy that I guess Spoonall came up with, or at least I've heard other YouTubers talk about it. It was something I took interest in because I did really want to try out Spike Factory. I also want to try out Permaspike. Permaspike in Battles, so I heard, isn't very good. That kind of makes sense because Permaspike really did shine in BT6 when you stalled the rounds as long as possible in order to accumulate the most amount of spikes. You can't really do that in Battles 2, but I still feel like Permaspike can be sort of useful. So the current strategy of how I play Boat Out Factory is I start off with a boat into a cannon ship, and then get 2 merchantmen as soon as possible into a 102 Spike Factory. Then eventually I want to go for an Alchemist buff, preferably under the range of Cannon Ship and Spike Factory, as Alchemist buff Spike Factory of course is incredibly cracked and pretty good. So kind of Spike Factory is kind of a set and forget type of tower. If you just kind of have it in the back accumulating as much spikes as possible, or at least put it in a spot to where you can accumulate the most amount of spikes, you're pretty much set for the entirety of the game. So really I was just kind of looking over at Triggered side, seeing what could I rush him with. Of course so far he hasn't revealed what his third tower is, so it could be like a decamo tower or something like that, but I wasn't really too worried about it, seeing as Glue and Ace as well, it's not really a bad combo, it's not really the best combo you can come up with. So I guess the best part about the strategy is you don't have to save it for camo detection. You already have camo detection sort of built into your strategy. Now this game I was debating whether or not buying spike balls, as it is round 13. He hasn't really sent any at me, so I figured I didn't really need spike balls. It was just kind of a just in case type of deal. Although I probably should have sent spike balls to him. We ended up rushing each other at the same time, We sent leads with some regen rainbows as well as some purples, which wasn't really enough to overwhelm cannon ship. Although unfortunately on his side, 2 bomb races and glue was not enough in order to actually be able to defend that rush. I think it was just kind of a hopefully this rush gets past and assume that the player isn't really good enough to be able to defend, but good game triggered. And nice meme strategy you were going for there. Now for this game was kind of, the opponent here was using, I guess, sort of the old tack meta, if you remember, which was Alk Tack Village, although his village was replaced with Sub, which is kind of interesting. Which means that it's still a pure eco strategy even if we did have village, but Tack Alk, you know, of course, was an incredibly strong like meta back, you know, when Tack was broken. I haven't really seen it since, so it is kind of interesting to see, you know, how good is Alk Tack now versus how, you know, it was back in the very early days of Battles 2. Honestly, I think the main reason why you don't really see Alk Tack Village anymore is simply just because Tack Ice Village is basically the same strategy, but better. You know, Top Path Ice is much better for, I guess, just like kind of support than, you know, Alchemist is. Of course, Alchemist does have the advantage of having some pretty decent damage dealing with, you know, Middle Path Cookie Monster and Transforming Tonic and all that. And I heard that TT5 is also pretty good at defending late game as well. Although I personally haven't been able to try it myself simply just because it's a 50k upgrade and there's not really many situations when I'm actually able to use that upgrade, unfortunately. Now the thing about Alk Tack is I'm not really sure how to rush it since I don't really see it too often. I kind of assume that, you know, Overdrive may not be enough in order to be able to defend like round 13 regen rainbows, like layered with leads or purples and all that. But then again, you may never really know. The +1 pierce and +1 damage from Alchemist may be more than enough in order to be able to defend that rush. And of course, you know, you have Gwendolyn's cocktail as well. Although it is regular Gwendolyn, so it's not as good when it comes to defending those kind of rushes, but it still is fairly decent at it. So kind of the thing I really sort of do, I didn't really do it this game, but I did do last game, is see if I can get away with not buying cannon ship. If I can get away with not buying cannon ship, I will just kind of go for merchantmen as soon as possible, as I really do want to be able to generate as much money as possible. This isn't really the best map for Bodalk's factory. As you can see, there's barely any water space, and it's not really a bad choice for a map, but it's not really kind of ideal. At most, I can really only fit 3 boats, which really does hamper my farming a bit. At most, I will only go for like 2 merchantmen and then have 1 boat that's for dealing damage, and that boat just ends up kind of being, you know, a cannon ship into Monkey Pirates, into Pirate Lord if I need it. Although for most times I really don't, I just end up kind of using Spike Storm in order to be able to defend ZUMGs and BFBs and whatnot. Although for BFBs I'll just pull it in if I have Monkey Pirates. So kind of seeing another attack user is kind of interesting. He goes for like greens, like group greens. I personally never really go for group greens when going attack ice mode, simply just because I want to get my I need, you know, money for village up as soon as possible. So Space D goes for kind of all the way to go. So as you can see here, the kind of merchantman buff does really make a pretty big difference before the, I mean, I do believe it's still the worst form of alt eco snipers and druids and helis, you know, is so much better than boat farming in general, but it's not bad. And I think that's kind of I think that community doesn't really like give it really a chance. It's not really as good simply because, well, it does make a decent amount of money. It just doesn't do as much damage as, you know, druid or sniper does. Sniper is some insane cleanup with some you know, mobs and whatnot. So all you really need is some anti-mob defense, and, you know, sniper's supply drops can easily clean up these ceramic insides. Druid has some excellent mob damage as well as being good for ceramic cleanup with the Jungle's Bounty one-shot. Boat doesn't really have either of that, so you do need, you know, some anti-mob and anti-ceramic defense with, you know, merchantman farming, as Boat doesn't really have like really that good when it comes to like anti-mob or anti-ceramic defense. I plan to try to send a like tiny amount of regen zebras with 2 no avail. You're gonna, not regen zebras, regular zebras. You're gonna need a lot more than that. He sends camo purples out. I guess he was trying to see if I did actually have like camo defense. Now this defense didn't really do as good as I thought. I actually ended up leaking some lives. I didn't even try like boost or anything So that was kind of a bad sign to me. So here I am getting 320. He tries again with even more. And I can't really buy anything, so it's just kind of like use brambles and hope and pray. I ended up boosting towards the very end, which did really save my life sort of, so a wee bit overconfident. For whatever reason I wasn't buying spike balls, I just ended up getting tier 4 alk buff. I'm not really sure why, as spike balls would have been better, as I do need to accumulate spikes is the thing. He is draining my spikes, which is a bit of a bad thing. Especially since you want to get spike balls, you know, sooner rather than later. Preferably want to get spike balls maybe on like round 14. I don't know how long spikes last when it comes to like spike balls or middle path. I don't think that's on the wiki currently, although I haven't really looked, so I'm not 100% sure. But preferably I just want to have maybe my spike factory upgrades available like 3 rounds in advance, just to be able to build up spikes. Although I have seen that people have, like from what I've seen, I have seen people, you know, like boosting in order to like accumulate spikes faster with permaspike, which is kind of curious. Is like, wow, you never really thought to boost in order to really do that. Now, this guy is alk buffing like 3 blade shooters, which is kind of an interesting choice. I feel like I could have pressured him and sent some like ceramics, but I was kind of too interested in like what was going on my side in order to really like pay attention to what he was doing on his side. He definitely does not have pretty good strength defense, although who knows, maybe like 3 alk buff blade shooters are more than enough in order to be able to defend this, although I do kind of doubt it. Here I momentarily paused my eco in order to get favored trades up. He sends a Moab my way. I'm not really too worried about that, as spike balls is incredibly OP. Honestly, at most I would just get a grape shot and just kind of do with it. And you know, the Moab actually even popped before it even got to my spike pile, which is pretty nice, as my spike factory is able to accumulate even more spikes. At this point I was just kind of waiting to see, you know, what should I do against him. I couldn't really think of anything, as you know, he has overdrive now, alk buff as well, so of course that easily defends a Moab, although I could have sent one earlier to maybe force that upgrade earlier. He has no form of alt eco, so I do have a slight advantage when it comes to, I guess, just kind of late game, since I do have selling power and I'm able to just kind of do all that. I do have an advantage when it comes to, I guess, just kind of late game shenanigans at all. And also he does have a slight weakness to a bit of AI camos. I did see, if you did saw, he did leak a green there. He tried getting Blaze Shooter down below in order to like prevent leaking those lives. I guess it doesn't really matter too much for him, since, you know, I'm down on lives, you know, I have to rush in, but I'm not really too worried about that since I do have ult eco in the form of boat. He stopped ecoing like entirely. I wonder if he was like really trying to get me to rush. He sends fortified leads along with some regen rainbows, but that's not really, you're gonna have to send a lot more than that in order to overwhelm spike balls and whatnot. I even get tier 4 cannon towards the end just to hopefully make sure. Now it's a lot of money he wasted for that rush, so he's like pretty much drained. So I kind of rushed him with a BFB. I don't think that Alchemist and Overdrive can be able to defend a fortified BFB this easily. So he also has sub, but you know, the question is, does he have enough money for first strike is the thing. So that's just kind of what I was hoping for. It doesn't seem like he didn't, or he doesn't have first strike unlocked, as he didn't actually go for first strike. He just went for like 2 overdrives and that was it. And the good thing about boat is I'm basically permanently safe against, you know, BFBs. You know, I could just easily just boat pull it in and nothing would happen. So he does end up popping the BFB, but he ends up dying to the insides. It was a bit of a late maelstrom, but good effort on his part. Anyways, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a comment or like the video. Join Discord, link is down below in the description. Look forward to more Battles 2 videos coming out pretty shortly.